Welcome to Women in Business 2023. We are so excited to welcome you to this year's event. And as you're journeying and finding your feet, please get comfortable. You are in for a fantastic lineup of speakers from all over that are going to be really enriching us with their knowledge and wisdom today. Every once in a while, you get a significant opportunity to take part of something that's bigger than yourself. In preparing for this event, what has been a key driver for me are all the incredible women that I've had the privilege of working alongside as colleagues and as clients in my journey as a professional and an entrepreneur. This is a movement that needs to be cherished and taken in deeply. Women gathering together, sharing our successes and learnings in order to lift each other up, to encourage along the way, and most importantly, to fan the fires of each one of our entrepreneurial dreams. When we are successful, we bring food to the tables of families of ordinary South Africans. We set a beacon high up to those who will come after us, saying that it is possible. And most importantly, we build businesses that shape the future. Welcome to Women in Business 2023. And this is where the crowd goes crazy. Unfortunately, I won't hear your applauses on that side, but please feel free to do them anyway. Now that I have my intro out the way, just a few housekeeping notes. As you're aware, there are no bathrooms that I can direct you to, so please use your own facilities and your own kettle for a cup of tea. But on a more serious note, ladies, please make sure to keep your questions to the end of our sessions today, where our speakers will still be online to engage with some of the questions that might arise during the sessions. If you would like to connect with anyone, today is about connection, so please reach out to us and we are happy to share the contact details of each and every one of the speakers or point you to their LinkedIn. For those of you that might be worried about load shedding, or if you had to have to hop off to handle something at home or at work, not to worry, the session will be recorded and uploaded on our YouTube channel after the event. All right, now that we have some of those housekeeping notes out of the way, I'm going to head straight on into our jam-packed agenda. So very first up, we have Mariken Jansen van Vieren. She is co-founder of Quantum Flux Digital, which is a digital marketing agency harnessing the power of data-driven creativity. She's a strategic marketer, skilled in leading campaigns on a micro and a macro level that produce long-term value that capitalize on growth opportunities. Mariken says she approaches each new project by putting the kettle on. I can certainly relate, Mariken. Talking to us about powering up to scale, please welcome Mariken.
Today, especially among so many power women and my fellow speakers today. My journey has taken me from contributing to the success of Get Smarter during its transformative years to founding my own company and now fostering growth at the Delta. I'm here to share my insights and experience on powering up for scale, a journey filled with challenges, learnings, and rewarding milestones. So let's navigate this intriguing journey together. Scaling is more than just numbers. I think everyone that went through scaling before can relate. It's about fortifying our core values, adapting, learning, and growing strategically. To inject a bit of humanity into this, let me share a story from my early days at work. We had a boss, Dane, was notorious for his predictability. His predictable responses to every question. To navigate this, we ingeniously created and built a mock landing page, which we called Ask Dane. Before anyone approached him with a question, We type it into the tool, predicting Dane's response. It would either be yes, no, did you Google it? And most importantly, is it scalable? This answer date isn't just for laughs. It underscores an essential lesson early in my career. Always act with scale in mind. It was a light-hearted way to remind us that scalability is not an afterthought. It is the foundational element of every decision we need to make in business. Back at Get Smarter, we faced the challenge of staying true to our mission while exponentially expanding our reach. There were multiple avenues and opportunities we could explore. It was a synergy of clear vision, a strong team, and adaptable strategies that served as our bedrock. We had to remind ourselves often that we are a short course business. There were so many different types of businesses we could also become, but at our core, we were a short course business. That was what we did. And we changed lives through better education, and that's why it mattered. And that's super important in the scaling journey. The journey of scaling isn't just about numbers or strategies, as I mentioned. It's also about the people leading the charge. And this is where the power women perspective becomes vital. Women in leadership, like many of us here, bring a reservoir of empathy, resilience, and innovative thinking to the table. In my journey, wherever at Get Smarter, my own startup, or the Delta, embracing diversity in thoughts and actions has fueled creative problem solving. It has really been the juice that made us survive through the challenges that we faced. It allowed us to push boundaries, innovate, and often find unconventional routes to overcome scaling hurdles. The capacity to view challenges from different angles to emphasize with our team and our customers enabled us to build stronger, more adaptable strategies for scaling. Each gender bias I faced and overcame was not just a personal victory, it was a testament to the resilience ingrained in every woman, an essential quality when navigating the unpredictable waters of scaling. Every hurdle has become a lesson shaping my leadership style, enriching our collective wisdom, and contributing significantly to the sustainable growth of the companies that I've been part of. I'm not mentioning this to celebrate the strengths women bring to leadership, although I am a little bit. But most importantly, I'm pointing out that these very qualities are the catalysts enabling businesses to power up for scale. Fostering environments of inclusivity, innovation, and adaptability is essential prerequisites for scaling in today's dynamic business landscape. Navigating through the Delta scaling journey has often felt like steering a ship through unknown waters. Each shift in the market and consumer behavior presenting a test of our adaptability and resilience. I recall days spent, and by days I mean yesterday, with my team, coffee in hand, immersed in customer feedback and data. Each moment a step towards understanding and valuing the voices guiding us through uncharted territories. This blend of adaptability, sustainability, and a customer-centric approach was more than a strategy. It was a revelation illuminating our path towards meaningful, impactful growth. Why is this so vital? Because scaling is about growing thoughtfully and staying true to our core values, ensuring that we expand, we uplift not just our numbers, but also our people, our values, our clients, and the impact we make. Each challenge faced and lessons learned has been a testament to our collective resilience and the boundless possibilities that await on the exciting journey. Foreseeing potential challenges, learning from mistakes, and turning them into opportunities for growth have been key. There's always mistakes along the way. What matters is what you learn while you're down there and how you pick yourself up again. It's a balancing act, pushing for growth while maintaining company culture, employee satisfaction, and quality. It's not the absence of challenges, but how we navigate them that defines our journey. To illustrate, let me revisit the pivotal period at Get Smarter. Hypergrowth compelled us from launching a new course every 2 months to an ambitious 1 to 3 courses a day. Responding to this pace, we entered our hiring frenzy, expanding the marketing team from a mere 4 to over 200, with plans for another 50 hires in the pipeline. Ironically, the solution only compounded our challenges. The influx of new hires, eager but untrained, added strain to our already stretched workforce. It was a lesson in the paradox of pace. Sometimes, to speed up, you must slow down first, and I live by this in everything I do. Reflecting on this, we recognize the potential in automation several processes, thereby not only saving on overheads, but also allowing our team the pace to be more strategic, to onboard effectively, and to focus on quality. This realignment wasn't just about optimizing, it was about understanding that the essence of is not speed, but sustainability and strategic adaptability. At Vidalta, leadership is about inspiring and motivating. We strive to create inclusive environment, valuing every voice, fostering a sense of belonging and emphasizing continuous learning. It's this culture of growth that helps us adapt and thrive in every evolving business landscape. And we work with ventures, so there's a lot of different business landscapes that we deal with. So powering up for scale is a journey, and every woman and man has the potential to lead it. It's about embracing each experience, contributing to a diverse and inclusive business world, and being a catalyst for change. To quote the phenomenal Maya Angelou, I love her, so I'm definitely quoting her. We may encounter many defeats, but we must not be defeated. I'm excited to see more power women embarking on this journey, shaping the future and making lasting impact. Thank you. And I'd love to hear your thoughts later in the Q&A session as well, and your journeys as well. Thank you, everyone.
Wow. Thank you so much, Marikan. Sure, a wealth of experience that you shared with us today, and we're so grateful and just really love what you're saying, that, you know, scaling up isn't just about the numbers, really just getting that sense of people in your presentation today. Thank you so much. And it's now time for me to introduce our next speaker on the agenda today. She's the Chief of Staff at ArmyTruck, which is an innovative digital third-party logistics business enabling massive cost savings, improved efficiency, and digitization to the last mile. Lindsay has a score of impressive skills that I can talk about today. I'll just touch on a few. She has strategy implementation, new business development, account management, just to name a few, and a proven capability to deliver fast and significant growth with experience in recruiting and growing first-class salespeople. Lindsay also says she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. So let's buckle up and tune in to how Lindsay Duff builds power teams.
Thanks so much for a lovely intro, and yeah, lots of dirty hands in my particular journey. So very keen to share some insights. Thanks so much for the lovely introduction. Hi, everybody. I'm always wary of any keynote coming off as a bit too vague. So I'm going to actually be pretty specific about what I think it takes to build a power team. For some context, I'm Chief of Staff, as it was mentioned, at ArmyTruck. We are a third-party logistics business based in Nairobi, where I am at the moment. And we have scaled our business from a people perspective in the last 6 months from 44 people to 93. So we have very, very quickly had to hire a really crack team to make sure that as a business we hit our business goals. So I'm going to be talking to you about how to scale and grow power teams today. Very practically speaking, if there is one thing, one concept that I want to leave you with after this discussion, it's the term talent density. And this was first introduced to me through Netflix's own scaling journey. Actually, Netflix, the streaming service, grew their business incredibly quickly because they applied to this rule of what they call talent density. Talent here referring to the individuals in the business, the talent that they have, but individually the skills, experience, and the hunger that each person in that business has. And talent density is what we are at AmiTruck applying to ensure our business scales at a really rapid rate. We are a seed stage VC-backed business. So time is of the essence, and we have been hitting our goals recently. And I think that's how you can define a power team. What is a power team? It's a team that hits its goals. It's a team that achieves what it needs to achieve, particularly in this environment, macro environment, globally, as well as in our context as a VC-backed business. So it means you need a team that is not only talented, I think we can all agree with that, but you also want to look at the concentration of talent in the team. And the idea of talent density is that you need A players in literally every single role, from the cleaner to the CEO, because having a B player or a C player, or God forbid worse, is actually going to harm your A players. They've looked at studies at people who perform incredibly well in their roles, and they've seen that if they introduce a B player into a team of A players, everybody's standard reduces. It's almost as if the business is tolerating mediocrity, and that's a big red flag. So the idea of talent density is to bring people into the business who are what we at AmiTruck call A players. People who are all-stars, people who give of their all and who have an enormous amount of talent, hunger, grit, and drive. So how do you do this? Obviously, your recruitment is absolutely critical. And we have two very key components to our recruitment strategy at AmiTruck. The first of those is ensuring that anybody we're speaking to is a culture fit. We have a really specific organizational culture at AmiTruck. It's summed up by people and performance. You're expected to come in and give 200%. We are unapologetic about that. We equally have 7 principles by which we make every decision, including hiring decisions, strategic expansion decisions, even what am I going to have for lunch today? Does it align with the AmiTruck principles? If so, then we're all good. We have realized that if somebody comes into the business and they are not aligned with our principles, some people call them values, company values, we're going to have a rocky road ahead. It's really important that anybody who comes in is tested for a culture fit, aside from the obviously necessary recruitment that takes place on a technical level. How do we test for culture? Every single person who comes through the business has a conversation, usually with the CEO himself, or indeed somebody in the C-suite, to make sure that they're on the same page. We really try to get to know the people we're hiring to see if it's going to be a good fit. The second thing that we do with our recruitment is that we have consensus, but we have a very high threshold for accepting anybody into the business. We call it the hell yes test. Is this person a hell yes? And if they aren't a hell yes from any one of the key hiring managers for that particular role, they're actually not accepted. If anybody has a sense that this person isn't a hell yes for AmiTruck, they don't join the business. So we have an incredibly high threshold, and we do believe that we would rather run incredibly lean with A players than run a little less efficient with more people who might take a little more of the burden, but ultimately will not actually get us to where we need to be. So that's how to build your power team, right? But then you have to actually keep your power team. You have to retain them. And because you've now got this entire team of A players on your side, you really need to make sure that you're managing them in the right way. The thing about A players is they don't like micromanagement, and they don't want to have all of their tasks overseen in a way that is a burden to them. It's a bit of a risk, and it can feel very scary as a business owner, but you need to apply the concept of freedom and responsibility. What we mean by that is A players naturally thrive when they're given a lot of freedom to take decisions, a lot of freedom to decide the best route for a project or the best outcomes, etc. They then recognize, those A players, that they have an enormous amount of responsibility because they have that freedom. It's a bit like Spider-Man, right? With great power comes great responsibility. It's the exact same thing at AmiTruck. You have enormous amounts of room to really be as autonomous as you'd like to be. You can run with your own particular ball, but you need to score. And if you don't score, it's on you. And everybody in the business knows that. There is an extreme degree of accountability. So freedom and responsibility is how you retain that talent. You allow them to flourish. You allow them to thrive. So you've kept your talent after you've hired them, obviously, but now you want to grow your talent. And this is really another key piece around power teams. You want to make sure, obviously, that they stay with your business, which is natural. There's two key things here that we need to apply. We need to apply... Unfortunately, if you do have A players, they are going to get a lot of job offers from elsewhere, and you need to pay what's called top of personal market for them. Obviously, a marketing intern is not going to earn the same salary as a chief financial officer, as an example. So people have different personal market rates in terms of what they can demand from the market for their salary, for their skill set. But you need to make sure that you're constantly assessing the market to make sure that you can retain them by paying them incredibly well. You don't want your brilliant team that you've hired really well, that you've nurtured, to then be lost because they're being paid maybe 5,000 Rand more at a different business. What a waste. The other thing that you need to look at as well as a business when it comes to growing your team is obviously applying the same hiring principles, but you also need to actually apply a principle to your existing team, which is called the keeper test. And the keeper test is as simple as it sounds. A manager is asked to consider, if this person was to resign, how hard would I fight to keep them? And it's a really interesting thought experiment for anyone that you might be unsure about in the business. If this person was to resign today, would there be a small sigh of relief? Or would I fight tooth and nail to make sure that I kept them, throwing everything at them to make sure they stayed in the business? The approach that we take at AmiTruck is similar to that at Netflix, which is, if I would be slightly relieved if somebody would resign, it's probably not the right business for them, and we need to have a conversation about parting ways mutually as friends, because not everybody is going to fit in this particular culture. But the keeper test is a really powerful tool to keep ourselves accountable and to make sure that we are retaining the best talent. Obviously, great talent can come in. People are people. Things can happen in their lives, which means they aren't performing to the degree that we need them to. And so the keeper test is a wonderful way for managers to really check in with themselves and check in that the best interests of the business are being prioritized. So that's it in a nutshell. Talent density is what's going to help you scale your business. It's going to help you build an utterly brilliant power team. You need to find them properly, recruit for culture, recruit for values, and make sure that they have the skill set that you need. Apply the hell yes test. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. You need to keep your team, and you need to make sure that you're paying them the best rate possible that the business obviously can afford. And you also need to coach your team. You need to keep them interested. You need to give them freedom and responsibility. And you need to make sure that they are allowed to thrive in an environment where there's an enormous amount of autonomy. Thanks so much for your time.
Wow, that was a lot to take in, Lindsay, and such specific direction for those of us that are looking to build or improve the strength of our teams. Thank you so much for sharing and for taking the time to really hone in on those specifics. It's really refreshing to get that insight from you this afternoon. Thank you very much. Yes. I just wanted to read a few chats there in the webinar. Guys, please do feel free to leave a chat or comment. That's the way we get to see, some of the behaviors and the responses from you as the audience. So please do leave a comment there or an emoji as you feel moved by what's shared today. I certainly have been, and would love to read some of those as we go through the next speakers. All right, so we are moving swiftly on to our next incredible speaker, Philippa Gerd. She's the CEO and founder of Recruit My Mum and Recruit a Graduate, which is an award-winning online resourcing and recruitment agency making a difference in South Africa. Philip is a lady with quite a few accolades, I must say, including EY winning Woman 2018, Woman of the Future 2019, EOY Job Creator of the Year, and F&B Innovation Award finalist. Philip is also a mother of two, a passionate initiator and social entrepreneur that recognized that the talents and abilities of mums are a great asset to business, provided they are given the flexibility they require. Thank you so much for joining us, Philippa. Please share with us your thoughts on disruptive business models.
Thanks, Christy, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you all this afternoon. I am going to share my screen briefly because I have some slides that I'd like to share. So I'm really trusting that this is going to work well. And I just need to just shift my screen around a bit. And Christy, if you could just give me a yes that this is all working and you can see it from your side.
We can see it, Philippa. You can go ahead.
Fantastic. Great. So my favorite space is to be amongst powerful women and particularly women founders. So I'm in my very happy space. And today I give you permission to be disruptive. And we always tell our kids not to be disruptive, but I'm giving all you powerful women permission to be disruptive. So the objective of my talk today is just to stimulate your thinking about your business, to describe and explain some of the disruptive business models out there, to give you real examples of companies that use disruptive models, look at some examples of disruptive technologies, and look at an example of a local brand that disrupted by truly understanding customer behavior. I don't sit here as an expert. We've certainly been very successful in what we've done, and there's certain of these models that we've used that I'm going to bring out in today's talk, and I really hope that this adds value in your thinking. Change is the only constant in life. One's ability to adapt to those changes will determine your success in life. That is what I tell my children every single day, and it's a truth. And I think as business owners, we really do have to live with this uncomfortable truth of being getting used to change. So disruptive innovation, it starts when disruptive business models bring a new idea or technology to an existing market. Disruptive market entrants capture unmet demands in an existing market. That's another way that they can be disruptive. Unmet demands can either be at the low end or the high end demand, where either the more price sensitive customers are or the more premium customers get addressed. So they tend not to go for the middle mass market. They tend to start in the high end or the low end and scale from there. And then you get sustainable innovation. And this is about bringing efficiencies into an existing market. So let's have a look at Uber. Is Uber a disruptive innovator? Well, let's take a look at it according to the theory of disruptive innovation. Uber did not start out by attracting low-end customers that taxi drivers in San Francisco were ignoring. That's not how they started. And it did not create a new market. In fact, many people in San Francisco already used metered taxis. But what it did do was it provided a better and cheaper service, which enabled it to attract mainstream customers. So in fact, Uber is not a disruptive innovator, but is a sustaining innovation, according to the theory. Uber was very successful because you could book a ride that required a few taps on a smartphone, payment was cashless, and passengers could rate their rides afterwards, which helped ensure high standards. And Uber delivered a service reliably and punctually, and its pricing was competitive or lower than that of a metered taxi service. But it still disrupted the industry, but it was more around sustainable innovation. So let's look at some of the most disruptive models and technologies. The first one, you'll know well. It's a freemium disruptor business model. The customer receives a product or service free of charge, and only basic functions are then offered. And for a premium function, there's no branding or additional services, and the customer must then pay. This way, you can quickly reach a broad customer base by lowering their risk to try, and you can scale your business into new markets. And thirdly, you can generate income when you convert customers into paying ones. So it's a really fast way of disrupting an industry or a market. The model works really well for products and services with low marginal costs. So the cost of adding an additional user onto your service or your base cost doesn't increase. But there's a challenge. And the challenge is that you need to ensure that you trade people up. There's a balance of getting the trial right and leaving them with enough dissatisfaction that they'd be willing to pay more for your service. And the typical examples that many of us know are Spotify, LinkedIn, Canva, MailChimp, and ChatGPT with what it's doing to Google. I want to just pause a moment on Canva that took on Adobe and Microsoft. Today, Canva has a $40 billion valuation and has over 60 million users per month. It has a team of over 2,000 employees, and they all work remotely, which is very inspiring to me because I have a fully remote team. And that was around a freemium disruptor business model where it really disrupted Adobe and Microsoft. And it's female founded. Very proud of Canva. Subscription disruptor models. These are products and services offered as subscriptions. The aim is to then bind your customer into the long term. In contrast to one-time purchases, the customer benefits from improvements and extensions of the service. Subscriptions are very powerful as it allows you to generate income over time and grow your company without too many highs or too many lows. Amazon also enables the likes of detergents and cosmetics to be delivered on a subscription model automatically and regularly. So when you're thinking about a subscription model potentially for your business, don't just think about software as a service, think about real products too. And typical examples here are 60/60, that just launched a subscription model for premium users who won't then pay delivery fees and will get additional discounts. Netflix, any internet provider that you're using, and of course, Apple Music is just some of the examples we could use here. And then let's have a look at a marketplace disruptor model. While many marketplace businesses simply organize and facilitate transactions amongst current market participants, disruptive marketplaces create new types of transactions that draw in buyers or sellers or both who weren't already participating in the market. The business model used here is usually a digital marketplace that connects the seller and the buyer on a common platform. Money is usually generated via a brokerage fee or a commission or a fixed transaction cost. So typical examples here are Amazon. As we know, they brought buyers and sellers together on a platform, our local being Takealot. Airbnb, where you're able to now buy and sell property spaces against hotels. And then I wanted to bring in a non-digital example, which is Karmas. So Karmas took a whole lot of providers of craft or handmade goods, locally made, and created a platform where buyers could come to one area to find them. And then one of my favorites at the moment, my teenage daughter loves this, Yaga, South African brand where you can buy and sell pre-loved fashion. And for all our thrifting teenagers, it's just, it's a really exciting business that's happening at the moment. What we did with Recruit My Mom was that we wanted to bring in women that were not participating in the economy. Many mothers who had left the economy or were not looking for full-time employment, that we then attracted by attracting the hirers of those women. And so we were able to create an online marketplace for clients to hire these skilled mothers. Subsequently, we've added on additional services, which aren't just about flexible and part-time. It's now can be full-time in office, but that's where we started, was to be able to attract these women in to a marketplace environment. And then an ecosystem lock-in. This is where you bind customers to an ecosystem in a long-term lock-in process. You buy the hardware, you use the software, and that may only be compatible with the same system. And this makes the change very difficult for your customer and also prevents new competition from gaining a foothold. These customer journeys are really interconnected, and the ecosystem supports various activities like e-commerce, social networking, software solutions, hardware offerings, and digital entertainment. If you're an Apple user, you'll get this exactly. You'll understand that you've got an Apple TV, you've got an Apple Watch, you're probably working on an Apple Mac, you've got your iPod is in your ears, and everything just seamlessly fits together. Zoho One is a more recent one, where Zoho One has put together a whole suite of applications that seamlessly fit together, but you can pretty much run your entire business on Zoho One. So a really clever ecosystem lock-in. A non-digital one would be a razor holder, where you've got the base, they sell you the base, and then you pretty much stick to those blades until that base is worn out, and then you throw it away. And then with Recruit by Mom, another example is that we wanted to retain our clients. And so what we did was we introduced Recruiter Graduate. There was a social need to help more graduates, but we also wanted to be able to offer to our clients brand new skills coming out of colleges and universities, things like UX, AI, lots of types of skills that were more associated with younger graduates, and now we're able to offer a full suite to our clients rather than them going elsewhere. So let's quickly look at some disruptive technologies. ChatGPT and Google. ChatGPT has been cited as one of the most disruptive innovations since the internet, with its capacity to upend how people will learn, conduct research online, and interact with technology in their jobs. The question is, what will it do for your business? Virtual reality, how this is impacting the way children particularly, are playing games, but what that'll do to education and medicine in the future, and will that disrupt your business? Blockchain, we generally associated with cryptocurrency, but in the financial industry, it's at the forefront of exploring and adapting the use of blockchain to perform secure transactions of capital. And the international travel industry is exploring it around visas and protected identity. For time's sake, I'm going to skip the Netflix blockbuster video, but many of you might not know that Netflix started out as a mail order video DVD company that was mail ordering DVDs, but then it moved to streaming, and we all know that there are not very many blockbuster video shops left around. 6060, fantastic. Love this as an example. And the reason why I included it here is because 6060 was not the first to do grocery deliveries. What they did better than Woolworths and Pick n Pay was they really understood consumer behavior. They understood that housewives largely did not know that what they were going to cook in a week's time or want to book a slot. They wanted to come home, order their groceries, cook that meal, and be done with it. And that's been largely the success behind 6060. Didn't necessarily have the best technology, but it does. But at the time, it was around really understanding consumer behavior. So as a powerful businesswoman, do you have an innovative business model that can disrupt an industry? Do you have a sustainable improvement that can disrupt the industry? Do you have a disruptive technology that can attract customers? And is your business likely to be disrupted or be disrupted or by a disruptive technology? And what do you need to do to defend your business? And was there anything we talked about in this presentation that sparked an idea? Just go do it, because disrupt or be disrupted. So thank you, and thank you for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Philippa. You packed in some amazing information for us there around disruptive businesses and really got the creative juices flowing on this side. And can really just be encouraged as a business, a woman in business, just to think about how these technologies are changing the shape of the way we do business. And as Philippa aptly said, disrupt or be disrupted. So thank you so much. I'm going to move swiftly on to our next speaker today, which is Emma Donovan. She's a co-founder and brand strategist at Dapper, whose mission is to give clients clarity of purpose and the confidence to own their story in an authentic way. Her journey as an entrepreneur has been far from linear, ranging from leading a dynamic team at Yellow Door Collective for 8 years to being the communications chair of the board of the EO Accelerator and now running her own company, Dapper. Emma says she's happiest when she can create change and manifest dreams. Talking to us about building a power brand, please welcome Emma.
Thank you, Christy. It is great to be here and speaking alongside such power women. I'm also going to just share my screen quickly, so give me a moment. Right, hopefully you can all see my slides. Can I get a thumbs up?
We're seeing your presentation slides and not the actual.
Okay, let's just
that we
pause
can
that
see
for a second.
Looks good.
Sorry, I just need to get back to my presentation notes. I'm just going to stop my video for a second. Sorry about that. When we tested it, I could see both views, but we will just be a second. Alrighty, everyone can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Brilliant. So for those of you who don't know me, co-founder of Dapper, and we describe Dapper as a brand studio. So we have designed the business to give leaders the confidence to own their stories in a more authentic way. And we really want to help them create space to show up as the best versions of themselves. So I'm very lucky to do what I do. I have a lot of fun, work with incredible people. And for us, it needs to be very conversational. So I know today we don't have time to really make it a conversation, but I would love you to post comments in the chat. I'm going to prompt you a couple of times. Don't overthink the questions. Just the first thing that comes into your mind will be great. So before we dive in, I always like to start with the why. So again, I could do a whole keynote on why personal brand is relevant, but I think a few of the key things are just knowing that your story is already out there. So if you don't own it, someone else will. And I think just having a strong brand is a great way to stand out, to build credibility, but also it's an opportunity to share your knowledge and expertise. And I know that's something I've enjoyed so much more as I've delved into the world of personal branding, is actually just sharing and making it that two-way conversation. But we often asked, what is the difference between reputation and brand? I think it's such a great question. And reputation is how others see you, whereas your personal brand is how you want people to see you. So it's really about that intention around it. What is your story? How do you share it? What part of it do you share? And I think an important thing for us is just to remember this is online and in real life. So people associate what we do with a kind of digital footprint, which is a huge part of it, but how you show up in life is equally important. So first question for the chat is, what comes up for you when you hear the word power? Maybe it's a person, maybe it's a phrase, but just take a moment to share something in the chat of what comes up for you. We got anyone brave enough to put something there? I think thinking of a person is often a great way to do it. I think for me, it is the words that come up are they're strong, they're focused, they're intentional. But I think especially as women, we run the risk of feeling the need to show up as powerful, but that may not always feel authentic and it may not feel balanced. So for me, it's really about balancing the kind of masculine and feminine energy, the yin and yang. And we've got a little example here to kind of show you what I mean. So if you think of architecture, interior design, it's really important to get the structure right, the foundation, all of those really important functional things right. but there's also that softer, like beauty side of it. So for me, this image kind of makes me think of a cozy day, hot chocolate, journaling, reading my book, just that kind of like comfort and beauty that comes through. And I think if we compare that to personal brand, there's a lovely synergy. The practical side is, what is your experience? What's your expertise? How do you show up in a way that demonstrates your skills? That's all the kind of structured side. But then there's also a really human piece to it, and that's around, what are your passions? What do you get out of bed for in the morning? Where do you find your flow? So I think if I can, encourage you to do one thing today, it'll be to keep that balance in mind. And that got me thinking, what else makes up a power brand, other than that kind of sense of being powerful. And one that often comes up for me is grace. I think there's lots of ways to define it, but for me, there's a gentleness, again, that like feeling of beauty and elegance. And an example that kind of popped into my mind earlier today is that I'm reading Michelle Obama's book, The Light We Carry. And I think she's just a great example of someone who has both power and grace in a way that may seem effortless, but she often talks about the fact that she's worked hard on her brand and herself and how she shows up. So I think, grace is a lovely example. And then one of my all-time favorites is authenticity. So I think that's just about, for me, it's being real, being genuine. I think a really interesting stat is 88% of consumers see authenticity as a key factor when deciding what brand to like and support. And that is company brands, but I think it's so relevant to personal brands as well. So just that kind of, again, the structure, the like kind of hard facts coming through, that it really is something that makes a difference. But I'm curious, I'd love to give you a moment to just think, what does being authentic mean to you in terms of how you show up? I think a lovely share was from one of our strategic partners who commented on the fact we usually work with him on Zoom. And my business partner, Lindsay, and I met him for lunch, and he said, wow, you guys are exactly the same in person as you are on Zoom. And I took it as such a compliment, because I really want to have that consistent feel. I think it's always harder to have online. But if someone can get that same energy and sense of who you are, I think that's, for me, a great part of authenticity that consistency brings in. And then finally, I think autonomy is quite an important piece of a power brand. I think just that capacity to make an informed decision, standing in your own path, and just kind of, again, owning that story is quite a big piece for me. So very curious to know how proactive everyone here today is. There's over 40 of us on the call, so I think there'll be quite a range of answers. But in terms of building a brand, that can look different for everyone. So it could be your digital footprint, your LinkedIn or your Instagram. It could be keynote talks, podcasts, but it can also be how intentional you are about getting dressed in the morning, your body language, the way you interact with people. So if I can have a kind of just a number in the chat, 1 being you're not intentional at all about your brand, 3 to 5 where you show up very intentionally, consistently, something you work at all the time. Nice to see we've got a 5 in there. And I think it's really, again, it's where you're at. So whether it's a 1, a 2, a 5, it's a very personal preferences. Messages are not going through, you're reaching to it. Thanks, Lucille. So let me just get back to the slides. I think what we want to kind of shift to focus on is actually how you build that power brand. So I've looked a lot at why it's important, what it looks like, but hoping to just share a few practical tips. And again, I'm sure there are things you've thought of or have looked at, but hopefully there'll be something new there to consider. And again, to just see how you make it authentic for you. So one of my favorites is it's not about who shouts the loudest. We often asked whether we work with influencers, and they're really not our target audience at Tapper. They're very welcome to come chat to us, but our audience is founders, leaders, anyone wanting to leverage their brand in a way that, yes, it supports their company, but it's also about sharing their expertise and being genuine about it. So we say, instead of shouting the loudest, how do you build consistency and trust? And a stat that I really love is that it takes 5 to 7 impressions for someone to remember a brand. So that consistency is a way, and using multiple platforms, I think is a really important way to build your brand, but also to expand your network. So before you embark on building or elevating your brand, I really encourage you to just take a moment to ask what really matters. Again, a very personal question, and not one you need to share your answers here with us, but just to really think about, like, what do you value? What does a perfect average day look like for you? What is your personal credo? What do you live by? And then my favorite is a really simple one, is what brings you joy. So if there's one thing you do as like a practical sort of exercise takeaway, I really recommend you just grab a bunch of sticky notes or just pen and paper and jot down everything that brings you joy. It's such a simple exercise, but such a great way to reflect and maybe bring some things back into your life that you don't do and would like to do more of. So just, yeah, I think being clear on who you are is always just that like grounding like base to come back to when you're building a brand, if you're kind of daunted or not really sure what you want to do. And the next thing is just to be cognizant of what other people see. A fun exercise here is to Google yourself. That is what the first impression someone is going to have of you online is. But again, it's not just about what happens online. So I think just being, yeah, cognizant of how quickly people do make a first impression. It takes 1/10 of a second to make an impression of someone. So just thinking about, how do I want to show up? What do I want to be known for? And then we all have blind spots. So those of you that were at this conference last year may remember I took you through an exercise on really sort of diving into that and thinking about, what are my blind spots, asking people close to you to kind of share feedback, not just your blind spots, but what they admire, what stands out, and just getting that, someone holding up a mirror and maybe giving you the confidence or the perspective that you need. And when you get that feedback, I think to just listen to understand. It's not always easy to hear that kind of feedback, but I think it's so important in terms of building your brand. And then finally, it's going and really sort of thinking about bringing all of this together. So you've got clarity on what your brand stands for, you know what brings you joy. So I think about, where do you add the most value? And that's often a superpower that you can tap into and use it to maybe take that step out of your comfort zone, create content that adds real value, build your network, and importantly, build trust. So I think when you're playing in a space that's your sweet spot or your superpower, it's much easier to lean into that and kind of get the engagement that you are looking for. So yeah, if I had to bring them all together, I would say that your power brand is really going to sit at the middle of what matters, what other people see, and what that superpower is. So to kind of wrap up, I think something that we often overlook is the ripple effect things can have in our lives. And to just give you a couple of examples, I think a power brand can help you attract investors, open the right doors. It can help you attract your not only ideal customer, but ideal team, which we've heard about today. And I think it's so important to, attract those A-team players right from the start if you can. And of course, just building that credibility. And a stat from CEO Hangout is that 92% of people trust recommendations from an individual, even if they don't know them, over a company. So just again, that affirmation that can come through and help drive your business, I think is is pretty powerful. So in a world where you can be anything, be yourself, and remember that it's time to own that story. So here's a little glimpse of ours at Dapper. And I'd really love to connect with you. I know we don't have time to necessarily chat today, but please reach out if you've got any questions or want to pick my brain. Always very happy to connect.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Emma. That was really just, again, a refresher to remain authentic, and such a challenge, especially when you're around other powerful women. I think you see the way that they come across and how put together they seem. And just a bit of accountability. Yeah, I have the most terrible headache at the moment, just so you know. But I'm still super excited to be here. And just a reminder again, like that sharing that vulnerability and being authentic and human is actually what really inspires others to also be who they are. So thank you for this share. It was really refreshing.
No, thank you, Christy. It was great.
Awesome. Okay, everyone, I just want to also, before we move on, let you know the chat has been re-enabled. I do apologize. If you wanted to give some comments along the way, you should be able to do so now. And just a reminder to stick around for the Q&A afterwards, where our amazing speakers will still be around to answer some of those questions that might have really popped up during what they were sharing. So jot them down and make sure that you stick around for the Q&A. All right, so next up we have just an incredible panel of women that I actually work with. This is an awesome opportunity to talk to three remarkable career women who have carved a unique path for their respective departments that they manage. So let's start off with each one of you. If you could please unmute, share your video, and just have a quick introduction of yourself and the role you occupy. Lisa, would you kick us off?
Wonderful. Thanks, Christy. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa, and I'm passionate about entrepreneurship, so it's awesome to be on this call. And I head up our programs department, so I oversee the various programs that we run in terms of entrepreneurial development. Yeah.
Fantastic. Sylvia, would you mind going next?
Yes, I will. I hope you can hear me. It took me a second to find unmute. So I'm Sylvia. I manage the finance function of Outsource CFO. So OCFO is a company. Anything that happens regarding finance, I know about, and I'm responsible for it. So that's what I do in a nutshell.
Grateful for you, Sylvia. I'll go next. So I'm Duray, proud van der Merwe. I manage the people department at Outsource CFO. And Lucille called me part of the furniture yesterday in our meeting, and I guess that's rather accurate. I'll be celebrating the 9th year at the firm real soon, so it's been fun.
Awesome. Now that we've set the scene, I think let's dive in a little deeper to uncover some of the secrets to each one of your success as leaders and women in business. And we'll start with Sylvia as the lady who holds the purse strings of the company. Could you give us some insights on your leadership style and how this influences the way you lead your team?
This is a very, very interesting question, and I'm super passionate about it, and I've been thinking about it immensely lately. But I'll start off by saying I'm an Enneagram 9, which means that I'm the adaptive peacemaker. So harmony and connection is super important to me. I need that to flourish, which might be a little strange if you think about someone like that being in a strictly finance position, where it might be seen as a little bit of a more cold, high stakes, fast paced environment. But I mean, you can still bring the human element to it. And I can attest to that. I will admit, like, that cheesy line of like putting people first and the deadlines will take care of themselves. Like, you know that about leadership, but then seeing it in real life is different. Like, I'm someone that needs hardcore proof, and I can promise you lately I've applied it and it's true. It really, really does work. So just with regards to leadership, I'm by no means expert, but something that I love and found this year is the book from Liz Wise called Multipliers, like how the best leaders make everyone smarter. That's the book's name. So yeah, I really strive to be a multiplier leader in everything that I do. And then just like personal tips of like what I do as a leader, I think you need to decide what are your non-negotiables. I have 3, and the 3 of them kind of relate to each other. And it's honesty, dependability, and communication. So honesty, like, you need to create an environment where people don't feel the need to hide mistakes and don't try to assign blame. It doesn't help anyone. Attack the problem, ask what happened, why did it happen, and how can I make sure it never happens again? And then also create a space where people can voice their opinion and welcome feedback. I know this is scary as a leader. You might not always want to know what people think, but it's important. And know what your accidental diminishes are. Mine are, I'm a perfectionist. I'm a rapid responder. I want things to happen quickly once we've decided. And I'm a rescuer. Like, I don't leave people to learn for themselves. If I see you need me, I'll be there. And asking my team, like, okay, telling them these are my diminishers, what do they think are mine? They said, like, I'm always on. So I never take a break. I don't have that balance. So that was like interesting to hear. And I took a leave day after that comment just to prove them wrong. But yeah, to welcome the feedback.
Awesome, Sylvia. Thanks so much for the shares. And I'm going to move over to Lisa next. And as you introduced yourself, you've empowered numerous entrepreneurs in how to enter markets and secure funding. But today we're eager to learn some of the essential skills that you have used in shaping your journey in business.
Thanks, Christy. I can definitely share things I've learned over the journey. I think the first one is to ask for clarity and to give clarity as well. There's that saying that goes, to be clear is to be kind. And for me personally, it's really taken courage to actually step up and firstly recognize for myself where the areas that I need clarity in and voice it and ask for that clarity. And for me, it's really been a super valuable exercise to really understand what is expected of me, and also to provide the clarity to my team to say, so that they know exactly what is expected of them. So I think that's been a big learning curve and something that I can really say it's been a super valuable skill for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then the second one is about managing your energy and not just your time. I know, DeRay, this is a quote that I received from you once, and it just stuck with me. And it's something that I think you have to constantly challenge yourself in learning, like habits and rhythms of how do you actually better manage your energy and not just your time. So something small, for example, is I like to plan my weekends before I start planning my week. And that's like a super high priority for me. Something else is to try and lessen the little bits of admin I try to do between meetings, and actually rather plot out time to actually do the admin and have space for my mind to actually be able to be cleared and ready for the next meeting. So building little habits that work for you to manage your energy better. And then the third thing is to really celebrate wins and be in the present moment and take time to recognize valuable achievements that have been made. I think especially within your team, what's quite nice is at Outsource CFO, we use a level 10 meeting structure And what happens is, one of the things that we always ask or challenge each other to say about is kudos and shout outs. So anything that's you want to recognize someone for and celebrate them for within your team or within another team, to mention that. And it's a great setup to be able to build in that rhythm of celebrating people. So those are my top three takeouts.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lisa. Over to DeRay. I have sat in many a meeting with you and been astounded at your ability to establish a rapport effortlessly. Building trust is undeniably a cornerstone of leadership. Can you share some strategies on how you establish and maintain trust with your team?
Thanks, Christy. Yeah, maybe just a fun fact for the listeners. So earning and maintaining trust in the workplace is actually our team's theme this month. So every week we have something we call Monday Motivation, and it's an initiative focused on team connection. And every new week we start the week together. The team joins online for 30 minutes. We have a speaker, we have a theme, nice and interactive. We sometimes have breakout rooms, so there's opportunity for smaller connection and shares with each other. But what brings me to the point of just our responsibility as leaders to create opportunity for our team members to connect, because we have to get to know each other. We have to spend time with each other. We have to be in discussion with each other, right? To be able to form trusting relationships. And especially in a remote working world and environment where we don't have that water cooler chat moments and that bathroom break walks. I don't know if that's a real thing, but coffee room moments. So I personally really value the first couple of moments in the hello moments in a remote meeting, where there's just no agenda. There's just a moment for chats and check-ins, where you get to just connect and show genuine interest in the individuals on the call for that moment. I mean, don't you just love that moment the new team member firstly joins in an inside joke when it comes to the team? It just shows that they're in a space where it's trusting and it's fun and they can be themselves. I have recently attended a leadership training session with Martin van Eden, so did you ladies, on effective listening. And Martin started the session with a check-in question. He asked us, Wendy, what makes you feel most listened to? What makes you feel most listened to? And they were beautiful shares. We were sharing about if the listener acknowledges the emotion that they heard during the share, or they respond with a follow-up question, or they come to you at a later stage and they say, but I've been thinking about what we've been speaking about and I want to add something, I want to ask you something. And that really shows that they really listen to me, that make you feel listened to. And spending a few moments just with that question really makes you realize, as leaders, we should talk less and we should listen more, because there's just so much beauty in listening to our team. And effective listening also shows genuine interest, and that builds trust, right? Something I keep in mind when I work with my team, I know there's a couple of parents on the call, so I'll use a parenting example, is just if my child is in a oh no situation, you don't want it to be, oh no, my mom's going to kill me, she should never find out. You want it to be, oh no, I should phone my mom. And the same goes for the team, right? You want to be able to share the good as well as the challenging, because transparency really is key. And the last thing I'll just mention is recognition and appreciation, right? We make use at Autosifo, we make use of a software called High Five Technologies for a fun recognition platform. But research shows that the most motivating force on the planet is a simple high five, because when you're high-fiving someone, you're seeing the person, you're acknowledging their efforts, and you're celebrating them. And you know what? I want to be in a trusting relationship with a leader who does that.
Wow, stunning shares, DeRay. Thank you so much. And I'll just continue on with Sylvia for the next one. I know you're a very busy lady, and yet somehow you seem to make time for what's important. Could you give us a quick peek into the typical week in the finance department?
Okay, so I think any person in finance or accountants can agree with me that every month you have certain deadlines and that's never going to change. So that can feel like restricting and a little boring sometimes, but it doesn't have to be. You can still live, you just need a good plan. So you need to decide, like, what are the things that are not negotiable? Like, they have to happen. And then plot them in. Like, for example, we have 4 deadlines every single week in the finance division. So we plot those in and everything happens around that. And then also the high risk areas. What are the areas you cannot make a cent mistake, like payroll and payments? So plan enough time to not rush that. Simple strategy, we split our month in 4 weeks. And we know that the first month and the first week and the 4th week is like, that's like super busy time for finance. The 2nd and 3rd week is like slower. It's not that deadline driven. So we can normally like plot in the annual deliverables or like the rocks that we're working on in those like quieter weeks of the month. So I think that's just key, finding the not negotiables and plotting them. And then we also have our daily stand-up with the team. So this isn't a one-man show. We are a lot of people working together. It's a ecosystem. We need to be a well-oiled machine. Like, I can't do my job if the other people in the team aren't doing their job. We're very dependent on each other. So that's why we have the daily stand-up, checking in with each other, starting with emotional check-in, like what's your emotion for the day? What's your physical check-in? Like, do you have a headache? Are you tired? Did you not sleep because you felt ill during the night? Like, I want to know, because everything has an effect on how you represent yourself during that day and how you do your daily tasks. We have a question of the day to get to know each other. This morning's question was, do you know or are you related to anyone famous? So that's how we build that relation in the team on a daily basis as well. And then obviously you have your plan of action. What are we going to do today? You have like a dashboard. Each team member has their tasks so that we can see who is doing what, when during the day, and how are we going to adjust and juggle to make sure that we are still a well-oiled machine, and have a backup plan. That's like very important, because people go on leave. We encourage them to go on leave. People get sick. There's a crisis, like my house almost burned down when our inverter exploded, and it was payroll and needed to rally. So yeah, have a backup plan. Everyone needs to be able to step in and help with those critical things. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Sylvia, for giving us an insight to your week. And I'm going to move over to Lisa next. And we all know that being in business is demanding and sometimes a taxing endeavor. Would you mind sharing a little bit around support and how you feel this plays a role in being sustainable?
I love this question. I think for me, something that's personally meant a lot is the network of women, friends, as well as colleagues who become friends, and really knowing that I've got a support network that I can lean into and that I can reach out to. I think it's been super inspiring for me to see how other people lead and just how they do it in such a human-centric way. And also been incredible for me to have a space to know that I can reach out to someone with a question. If I've got a question on something, they most probably have already been through a situation like that, that I can ask for advice, or just need a little bit of I just need someone's ear to listen to the pressures that I'm experiencing, and just be able to literally sit back and just listen to that. And I think for me, the key thing here has been building those relationships, and so putting the time out to actually foster those relationships. And secondly, to create a culture of regularly asking for advice. I know that Chrissy, I know if I give you a call and I need some advice on something, I know you'll be ready to answer. And I think just that culture that one can create within that support network has been super valuable for me.
Amazing. Thank you for that share, Lisa. I just wanted to summarize this incredible panel with a one sentence. If you could share with the ladies here today, if there was one thing that was important for them to take away from what you shared, what would it be in one sentence? So it's a big challenge, and I'm going to start off with Sylvia, and then we'll just go to Lisa and end off with Duray.
Okay, so my parting one-liner will be that you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So decide what is important and do that.
Yes, love it. Lisa.
So my one-liner would be to take courage and know what you need clarity on, ask for clarity, and also remember to give clarity.
Awesome. Duray.
From my side, maybe a challenge to all the ladies on the call to end your day today with a high five in the mirror, which is a suggestion in the chat, where you really celebrate the wins of today, the mountain of things that you managed to do, and really acknowledge that effort. You did well.
100%. Thank you so much, ladies. And wow, what a way to end this Women in Business conference on such a high. We aren't saying goodbye just yet, but it just shows that from the remarkable leaders we heard today, that leadership knows no gender, and that success is a reflection of one's passion, authentic concern for our teams, and dedication to ongoing growth. Thank you so much for sharing today, ladies. And we're just going to allow a little bit of time now for our amazing attendees to ask some questions to the panelists. So I see there have been quite a few questions coming through on the channel. Thanks so much. Keep them coming. So I'm going to start off with a Q&A that came through from an anonymous attendee, and she asked, how did you double up in staff in 3 months? And American, if you're online, I saw you gave a really great response there. Would you mind just summarizing your thoughts on that question?
I don't think that question was aimed at us or at me, but within Get Smarter, it was really difficult. We had to set a clear plan. And I think whenever you go for a phase where you need to double up on staff or hire new staff, it's really pivotal to think about not just the skill sets you need today, but the skill sets you'll need in the future so that you can create a pipeline. It's really difficult to just hire people immediately. So I'd recommend phasing it out and really think where you can automate so that you don't sit with overheads tomorrow that you won't need the day after. And then we just leveraged our networks within the leadership team, but also within the employees team. And we created an environment that people wanted to be part of. So we were very clear on where we were, where we're growing, and what our values were. The first thing we told people that actually applied as well is that if you're applying for this job, we really want you to be able to speak to our values and how you fit into that value system, because that's important to us. And that also showed future employees that we would take their values seriously, which we did. So that just fostered a place that people wanted to be part of. And that also allowed us to get really high quality, those type of A players that applied for the positions we had open. I think our biggest struggle was onboarding, because that takes time and you can lose someone in the onboarding phase. So it is really worth taking that step back and doing that properly. And the second thing was doing the actual interviews, because also that takes time. In the beginning, we had quite a bit of interviews. I think we had 7 interviews people had to go through. We also had quite a lot of people in the room. So we streamlined that to key decision makers, where we actually streamlined our process to the maximum of 3 interviews, and then someone needs to make a decision, yes or no.
Or the hell yes, as was shared.
Yes, the hell yes.
Awesome. I think just to Philippa, I have a question here on WhatsApp. What's been the biggest challenge for you so far building a power brand?
I think there, I think if I speak to a lot of women, and I see there's a question regarding, how do you balance everything as a working mom as well? I think that's probably been one of the biggest challenges for me. Is I'm not a big proponent of work-life balance, but I am a big proponent of work-life integration. And so one of the biggest challenges for me has been balancing the different aspects of who I am, whether I'm the boss or whether I'm the friend or I'm the colleague or I'm mum or wife or and it's just getting the tension right. So I think that's me personally. If you had to ask me from a challenge, what was personally the most challenging, but very rewarding. And then from a business point of view is this unrelenting world of change we live in. Is that it's always changing. Just when you think you can get comfortable, you can't. Change is around the corner and you need to adjust and adapt. And it's just, it's just living with the discomfort of continuous change, which I think you also get used to.
It certainly does feel like a mouthful sometimes. I've got another question for Emma. If you're still around, we had somebody asking, specifically around being a mum and just building a brand. Like, how do you actually prioritize this? Because it seems like an impossible task.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think I see brand as something that is the one thing you have your whole life, and you'll go through phases where you're actively building it and other times where it's almost in maintenance mode or taking a back seat. But I feel that being a mum is absolutely part of your brand, or, there's so many sides to life outside of work. So for me, it's really important that your brand is a holistic take on brand rather than just a professional persona. So I think absolutely hard to juggle it all, but to just be authentic and show up in a way that's real, for me in itself is building your brand.
Sure. Thank you so much, everybody. Unfortunately, that is all we have time for today. I'm just very conscious that we are already a little bit over our power session, and I do want to let you go to all of the incredible tasks and roles that you need to occupy after this amazing event. And just again, thank you for making the time to share with us, to listen, to provide your comments. And there's just one very special power woman who loves to stay behind the scenes, who's been really the heart of this event and organizing the amazing people speaking here today. And that is Lucille Jansen van Vuuren. Thank you so much for all of your hard work and efforts that goes behind the scenes. We are so grateful for you who creates this platform for us to come together as women. But that's it for me today, guys. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again next year. Cheers.